Growing up, I always knew that I wanted to help people. When I met my brother-in-law, he told me that he was deployed to Afghanistan and he was blown up by an IED. When he came home, he was diagnosed with depression and PTSD. He was also prescribed painkillers for the pain. The painkillers that he was prescribed began to be too expensive from the pharmacies, so he turned to the street prescriptions, painkillers. And once those became too expensive, he was introduced to heroin. I wanted to help him and tell him that it was not his fault, that everyone has their own demons. After hearing my brother-in-law say this to me, it became relevant that American citizens see substance abuse as a choice, especially heroin. Heroin addiction is not a choice, it is a mental illness. First, I will elaborate on the cravings, the money spent, and overdosing. Next, the mental illness aspect and the veterans who are affected. First, the most common belief is that heroin addiction is a choice. They choose to shoot up. Many users start using prescription painkillers start using heroin after the prescription painkillers such as OxyContin become too pricey. They choose to have the crave for heroin. Erica Herman said that heroin alters the circuits in the brain and increases the crave to use. Erica also said that your brain is altered to expect the heroin, and when you do not use heroin, you are affected with the crave. If you go long enough without using, you will experience withdrawal effects such as tremors, vomiting, diarrhea, cold sweats, insomnia, muscle and bone pain, and uncontrollable leg movements or anxiety. This will last as little as a week, but you have to retrain your brain that you no longer need heroin. The long-term crave is the worst, and it can be triggered by anything, such as music, people, television, smells, certain places, or even certain foods. They choose to use all their money on heroin. Heroin.net said that the average dose, which is 0.1 grams of heroin, costs between $15 to $20 in the United States of Ohio. This depends on the purity and the availability of heroin at that given time. Hardcore addicts can use anywhere from $150 to $200 per day to support their heroin addiction. They choose to overdose. Heroin and painkillers are the most addictive drug out there, and it doesn't take long to build a tolerance. Once the tolerance is built, you have to use more and more to get a better high, and this is when they overdose. But you don't understand that not knowing the aspects of heroin addiction causes people to think that it's a choice, but it is a mental illness. Being addicted is considered a chronic relapsing brain disease with compulsive drug seeking and the consequences. A brain disorder is any disease or disorder of the brain. Diamorphine, which is heroin, and morphine, which is prescription painkillers, originate from the opium poppy seed. This causes the addiction to become so easily tolerant. Once people use heroin or prescription painkillers, stopping is no longer a choice because you always want to feel better, per se. Helpguide.org said that mental illnesses and drug abuse are considered a co-occurring disorder, such as people with PTSD. After the traumatic experience, they search to find something to numb the pain. They turn the heavy-duty painkillers that are prescribed while after being deployed home are causing the veterans to continue using. Dual Diagnosis said that the epinephrines that are produced after a traumatic experience are the same. When your body stops producing them, it's a withdrawal that's similar to drug withdrawal. In conclusion, my brother-in-law did pass away from an unexpected overdose, and most say it was just karma for his bad choice. Matt's choice was to go to Afghanistan and fight for our country. It was not his choice to be blown up by an IED. It was not his choice to return to the United States and use heroin. It was his choice to get married to my sister. It was his choice to have a daughter, and it was not his choice to have the cravings for heroin. I don't know why he used on August 8th, whether it be a family issue, an old friend, or simple as watching American Sniper. But we as American citizens need to stop believing that heroin addiction is a choice. We need to get the addicts the help that they deserve. We all make good choices and bad choices in our lives, but becoming addicted to heroin is not a choice. It's a mental illness. Yes.
So, do you know of any program, I guess, out there that is designed for veterans to, you know, because you said they get the painkillers from the IUD, or from dealing with the pain. It's a pretty common thing, I guess, to get addicted to heroin as a veteran or other drugs as a veteran. Are there programs to offset that?
When I actually researched that, the internet didn't say anything about veterans using heroin or being addicted to heroin because the government doesn't want that to be seen. I mean, yes, there are tons of people that you hear about that get addicted to heroin after coming out of a war, but I haven't seen anything for them to get help because the government just wants to subside that and not deal with it.
Is there a medical way for people who are, prescribed these very strong painkillers, for them to be kind of weaned off of those drugs so they no longer have those cravings?
There is, I know there's a few that are used, not so much to stop them from taking the painkillers, but in order for them to slowly get off of heroin or any other drug of that sort. It's like a melting tablet that they put on their tongue and it has to melt, and it's got opium poppy seed in it, but it's not as strong as, say, heroin or the heavy duty prescription painkillers.
My other question is, you talk about, this not being a choice. What do you say for all the people who aren't veterans who engage in the use of heroin? Is it a choice for them who haven't experienced a traumatic experience like your brother-in-law?
I don't really know. I mean, my sister and my brother-in-law were both addicted to painkillers and eventually heroin. They both experienced a traumatic experience. Whether or not, I don't really know anybody that just picks up heroin and starts using it as their first choice, I guess. When you immediately pick it up and you are at a party and it's your choice and you're vividly able to make your own choices, then yeah, it is a choice. But coming from me with knowing people who have experienced traumatic experiences, it's not a choice. It's something that they feel that they need to numb their pain.
All right, thank you.